I had the weirdest, most terrifying dream of my life. I woke up lying on a soft hospital bed, the sheets cool against my skin, the smell of antiseptic hanging thick in the air. My head felt heavy, my ears ringing with faint murmurs that I couldn't quite make out. When I turned my head to the right, I saw my mother standing near the foot of the bed, speaking in a low, worried tone to a man in a white coat. A doctor. Their voices blurred into an indistinct hum as my vision began to swim. The doctor stepped closer, his shoes clicking softly against the tile floor. He bent slightly so he was at eye level with me and gave a practiced, professional smile. "My name is Dr. Adams," he said gently. "I heard you're not feeling well." His words felt strange, like they were echoing inside my head. "Yes?" I managed to whisper back, my voice weak and trembling. Before I could say anything more, my sight faded like someone had dimmed a light. When I opened my eyes again, I was no longer in a hospital room. I was lying on a freezing cold metal table, the surface biting against my back. My arms and legs felt stiff and heavy. The room around me was dimly lit, the walls lined with shelves holding strange metallic tools and glinting surgical instruments. The air smelled like oil and rust. A deep, unfamiliar voice suddenly broke the silence. "Look who's awake," it said with a low, menacing tone. I tried to lift my head but couldn't. Leather straps or thick cords held me tightly to the table, including one across my forehead. Panic flooded my chest. The man moved closer, but I couldn't see his face clearly. "If you're good, you're safe," he said again, but something in his voice told me it was a lie. Then, louder, sharper. "Well, let's begin." Before I could scream, he slapped a strip of rough duct tape across my mouth, pressing it hard against my skin. My breathing became frantic and shallow. I tried to stay silent, tried to think of a way to escape, but my heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst. He picked up a long, gleaming knife from the table beside me and slowly drew it toward my stomach. The cold steel kissed my skin, and then pain exploded as he began cutting my belly open. I clenched my teeth behind the tape to keep from screaming, tears blurring my vision. 15 endless minutes later, he stopped. My stomach was slick with blood. Without hesitation, he grabbed a hammer and a handful of nails from a tray and began hammering them into my stomach as though I were a piece of wood. The pain was unbearable. I screamed and sobbed behind the tape, my cries muffled but still echoing off the walls. Two other men, his assistants, slapped my face and shouted, "Shut up! Shut up!" while laughing cruelly. My whole body trembled, the room spinning. Then, suddenly, sharp cracks echoed from somewhere above. Gunshots. The men froze. In a panic, they untied me from the table, but shoved me into a rusty iron cage at the corner of the room. "Stay quiet," one of them snarled. I screamed for help anyway, clutching the bars, when a man in black appeared in the doorway holding a gun. "Where are the keys?" he shouted. I pointed with a shaking hand to a hook on the wall where the keys dangled. He sprinted across the room, grabbed them, and unlocked the cage. "You're safe now," he said as he tore the duct tape from my mouth. But when he saw the nails sticking out of my stomach and the deep gashes carved into my skin, his expression hardened. He spoke urgently into a radio clipped to his vest, his voice tight with urgency. More gunshots boomed, then the door burst open, and more people rushed in. My vision blurred again. The next thing I knew, I was lying on a stretcher being wheeled out. Cold night air hit my face. Red and blue lights flashed all around. An ambulance. A mask was pressed over my mouth and nose, oxygen hissing softly. I tried to move, but my body was trembling, weak. Suddenly, I started vomiting blood, the metallic taste filling my mouth. The medics around me moved quickly, their faces masks of concentration. One of them took my hand gently, holding it close. "Just relax," she whispered as she slid a needle into my arm. My body began to feel heavy and numb, the edges of my vision darkening. "Why? Do I feel sleepy?" I asked, my voice broken and shaking. Another medic leaned close, her voice calm but distant. "It's normal," she said softly. My eyes fluttered, the world spinning away from me, and then everything went black. "Would you like me to make it even more like a thriller horror story, with suspense and atmosphere? Or keep it in this realistic dream journal style?" "Sure. I can continue your story from the moment your vision went black in the hospital. I'll keep the same dark, dreamlike tone and make it feel like a continuation of the same nightmare." Here's the extended version. When my vision went black in the hospital, I thought it was finally over, but it wasn't. I woke up again, not peacefully, but with a sudden gasp. My body jerked upright, though I couldn't move freely. My arms were strapped down, and bright white lights burned my eyes. The room was silent except for the slow, rhythmic beep, beep, beep of a heart monitor beside me. I was back in a hospital, or at least it looked like one. I turned my head and saw my reflection in a glass panel on the wall. My skin was pale, my lips dry, and my stomach was wrapped in layers of thick, blood-stained bandages. My voice cracked as I whispered, "Where am I?" No one answered. A soft static sound crackled from somewhere in the room. Then a familiar voice came through a hidden speaker. Low, cold, and unmistakably the same deep voice I had heard before. "Welcome back," it said. My chest tightened. "You didn't think it was that easy, did you?" I started shaking violently, tugging against the straps, but they wouldn't budge. The beeping from the monitor grew faster, matching my racing heartbeat. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the walls seemed to pulse as if the room itself were alive. I screamed for help, my voice echoing into emptiness. The door at the far end of the room creaked open, and a tall shadow appeared in the doorway. He stepped inside slowly. The same man who had been there before, though now he was wearing a doctor's coat. His face was partially hidden by a mask. "You're stronger than the others," he said softly, walking closer. "Let's see how long you can stay awake this time." He reached for a syringe filled with a dark red liquid. I tried to move, but my arms were pinned. "Please, no," I cried, tears burning my eyes. He smiled slightly, then pushed the needle into my arm. The cold liquid burned as it spread through my veins. My breathing grew shallow. My vision swam again. But before I could fade out completely, I heard the sound of footsteps running toward the door. Someone burst in, a different doctor, a woman this time, shouting, "Stop! What are you doing to her?" The man turned sharply, but she pressed a button on the wall, and an alarm blared through the room. The lights flashed red. Everything became chaos. Shouting, running, the sound of crashing equipment. The woman rushed to my side, quickly unstrapping my wrists. "You're going to be okay," she said breathlessly. "Just hold on." She lifted me gently, wrapping one of my arms around her shoulders, and we stumbled toward the door. My legs barely worked. The hallway outside was dim, filled with smoke and flickering lights. I could hear more voices, gunfire again in the distance, and the faint sound of a helicopter overhead. We made it to a heavy metal door at the end of the corridor. She pushed it open, and cool night air hit my face. I gasped, feeling the first breath of freedom. But then, from behind us, I heard that same deep voice shout, "You can't run forever!" The woman turned, pulled something from her coat, a small flashbang, and threw it down the hallway. A blinding white light erupted behind us, followed by a deafening boom. She helped me into the back of another ambulance, slammed the doors shut, and yelled to the driver, "Go, go!" The vehicle sped off into the night. My body trembled, half conscious, as I heard sirens wailing and the tires screeching against the road. I looked out the back window one last time, and for a split second, I thought I saw him standing in the middle of the road, watching us disappear into the dark. Then, once again, everything faded to black. Would you like me to keep going? Maybe what happens when you wake up again to see if it was still the dream or reality? Sure.